Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast.
Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today, I have a great friend of mine, Mr. Victor Heredia.
Ricardo, good to be here, bro.
Victor, thank you so much for coming in. Shout out to the Wholetaling guys, Carlos, Sal, and Alex, who allowed us to use their studio to record a few episodes of the Real Estate Entrepreneurs. And I'd like to start with this, Victor. Who is Victor, man? Where do you come from?
So I'm born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
I grew up in Maryville. Actually, back in the day was kind of a rough area. Still kind of is. But that's my background. And then I was in the food industry for about 20 years.
Food industry?
Yeah.
What was that like? What do you do there?
So a couple things. So believe it or not, I used to sell cheesecakes back in the day.
Cheesecakes?
Yeah, cheesecakes. Yeah, back in the day.
Did you bake them yourself, or
No. My cousin was VP of sales for Cheesecake Factory.
Cheesecake Factory?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So and then he left there. He partnered up with another guy, and they started making very similar desserts. He took the chef also for Cheesecake Factory, and they just started their own line and started selling desserts. It was a company called Sam's Cheesecake out of San Diego. So did that for a few years, and then I went to the real estate business for a little bit. But then my family, they're big farmers down in Mexico, so I got out of real estate to get into the family business, and then did that for probably 20 years.
So did you move to Mexico?
No, we opened up an office in a warehouse here in Phoenix.
Okay.
And so I kind of help run operations here in Phoenix and in the U.S.
Oh wow! So how did that look like? They farmed in Mexico, and then you guys brought all the products here.
And we shipped it through McAllen and through Nogales, and then we would sell to supermarkets here in the States.
And what were you guys growing?
Down in Colima, down south in a little town called Tecomán, Colima. And then we would also grow a little bit in Sonora as well.
Okay.
Depending on the product.
But what were you growing? What was the product?
Bananas.
Bananas?
Yeah, bananas.
I didn't know Mexico grew bananas.
Yeah, Mexico grows a lot of bananas.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I know bananas are very well known in Central America, Colombia, Venezuela.
That's where they're very big.
Right.
That's where they're very big. But for freight reasons, a lot of companies buy from Mexico because the freight isn't as...
Absolutely. It's cheaper. It's just a truckload away.
Yeah, exactly. Up north to New York, not so much. But, to the border, it's really good. Yeah.
Wow. And were these bananas, were they organic or?
Yeah, organic. So we private labeled for Whole Foods and for Walmart. So if you've had an organic banana at Whole Foods, that was our product. Or our private label for Walmart organic banana, that was ours as well.
And when do you quit the family business?
I'd say about a year ago.
Oh, that's just recently.
Yeah, because I was able to kind of work on real estate part-time and do really well with it. And, other investments I did as well. But, it was a family business. I felt that they needed me. So I kind of felt obligated to stay. So I stayed as long as I could.
Wow. So now that business still runs, right? So those products are still in Whole Foods and Walmart and all.
Yeah, they're still selling to Whole Foods and Walmart. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And are your parents who's running it now?
It was my cousin. My cousins. There's actually 4 of them now that run the business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The president, or the founder of the main group, he actually passed away back in. I think in July.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to assume you encounter real estate, what you do today, while you were in that business.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So I started doing it really part-time.
Okay.
So I would just, in the evenings, I would just hustle in the evenings and just do real estate. That's all I did. So I really kind of built the business part-time. And since it was virtual, it was really easy for me to do it.
And what were you doing of real estate related? Was it wholesaling or buying?
Wholesaling, yeah. I've done some flips in the past, I'd say 10, 15 years ago. I did some flips, but it just wasn't big money for me. When you don't know enough, you don't know where to buy at, you don't know how to hire the proper contractors.
Right.
It just wasn't as profitable. But wholesaling was, kind of, it's where it's at. Wow.
So who do you learn wholesaling from?
So it's a funny story. I was watching Ty Lopez. He was big about 4 years ago. Well, he's still big now, but he was really active on social media, right? So he interviewed Jalen White, and
Yes.
and I saw him like, man, this kid's 18 years old and making $100,000 a month. Like what's he doing?
Right.
And then I realized, well, he's really young, a smart guy. I mean, he's doing really well now with the other businesses. But I'm like, well, he learned from somebody. So I found out about Alex Signs,
Right,
and then Carlos as well. But I knew Jalen learned from someone, so I just did some research. It was Sean Terry.
Okay.
So what I did, I ordered Flip to Freedom.
Yeah.
So shout out to Sean Terry. Actually, we were with him yesterday.
Yeah.
I ordered Flip to Freedom. I study that. For me, I really need to know the business really well, because the better you know something, the more confident you are, and the more power you can move with.
And you were in a position that you could do that because you had a good job.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%. It was a good job, good paying job, but it got to the point where I was making in 2 months what I was making in 1 year.
Wow.
So it was just time. But so I studied Sean's course for like 3 months straight. And then after that, I just started hitting the phones, and I got my first deal within 10 days.
Wow.
Yeah, my first deal was actually with Wholaling. Was with Carlos. And
Really?
Sal. Yeah.
So you do a
deal.
JV with them?
Correct. Yeah.
Awesome.
So first full circle, right? Like you start as a newbie, and then now I'm here. I'm friends with Carlos. I'm friends with Alex and Sal. We're in their studio, so it's pretty cool.
Awesome. So, and this is when, 2019 or 2020?
So I started in 2018.
2018.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started in 2018. That's when you learned Sean Terry's.
Yeah.
Did you do your first deal back then in 2018, or was it?
Yeah. Like I said, I studied for 3 months. I did my first deal in 10 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how was that progression? Like you did your first deal. How long did it take you before you went and hired your first person?
Probably quite a few months. I wanted to learn the business. Lock up deals myself. So I was cold calling myself. I was doing everything myself. But then after a few months, then I started to realize, these guys that do really well, they have teams. Like you can't build anything without a team.
Right.
Like even my family's business in Mexico, I think they have 4,000 employees.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a big company. So to be at that level, you need a team. Like any major corporation, to be big, you need a team.
Right.
So what I started doing after every deal, I would hire a caller, another deal, hire a caller, another deal, hire a caller, and that's kind of how I scaled it.
Well, were you hiring callers here or overseas?
Initially, it was Philippines.
Okay, because that's what everybody else was doing.
Initially, but just didn't do really well for me. But when I switched to Mexican callers is when it kind of took off.
Wow. And how long did you last with the Filipino callers?
Probably 2 months. Yeah, like I said, didn't do too.
Yeah, once you saw, this is not working,
it's
I
not
gotta go
working,
somewhere else.
You gotta switch, yeah.
And it wasn't the method, it was the callers themselves.
Yeah, I think accent is huge. I think the more fluent someone is, it just makes a big difference. Also, there's a cultural difference as well. Like the callers I have in Mexico, a lot of them are actually deportees. So their English is like us.
They're perfect.
It's
Yep.
perfect.
Perfect.
No accent.
They probably speak better than I do.
Yeah. they're familiar with the culture. So a lot of them, most of them grew up in the States. So yeah, they do a good job.
Wow. So you switch from Filipinos to Mexicans, and this is back in 19 now, right?
Yeah, this is probably around 19, yeah.
Like towards the end, or
Yeah, appreciate 19.
and that's when you really start scaling.
Yeah, that's when I started scaling. But even then, you're reinvesting all your profits into the business. Like me, even now I'm not a huge spender. I really reinvested in my business. One thing I learned, in our business, in our industry, your operational expenses will kill you. Like even
Yes.
when we were doing $20 million a year in sales in the industry, in the produce industry, there's some months you would lose money. But when we were doing 10 to 12, we were making money consistently. It's because your operational costs are in line.
Yes.
Right? So a lot of times if you have too many people in the office, too many salaries, too many in-house guys, your operational costs will kill. Like you mentioned yesterday, 2-3 bad months and you're done.
Yep.
So I've always been very cognizant of that. So I always kept that in mind, that your operational costs will kill you. So I always try to minimize our operational cost.
So, which is something I've done too,
Yeah.
throughout the years. Although I never grew a team that was very capital intensive.
Yeah.
Like I never I never got to that level of saying having 20 people in my office at $2,000 a piece, plus commissions, and then running a marketing campaign and having $100,000 payroll, pretty much,
exactly.
right?
That's
In between people and marketing, because we did that in 2017 and 18 with mailers.
Yeah.
And we were making money, but if we had 2 bad months, we suffered, you know, and we got our teeth knocked out, right?
Yeah.
So I learned my lesson back then, and now I was more cautious on how I would grow. Like I said, look, I want to grow big, but I don't have to go and get all this overhead of people, because more people doesn't necessarily means more money.
Correct. A lot of times it can mean less money.
Less money.
Sometimes.
No, I would say 99% of the time is less money. If you're not careful. So interesting. So you go to Mexico, and I know you have a call center now today. That's yours.
Correct.
That's your operation. Correct. But tell me how did it start? Like you hired your first guy.
Yeah.
How did that started growing?
Well, it's funny. I went down to Sonora. We went to Rocky Point, and I was talking to my wife's cousin, and his English was perfect. And I told my wife, like, man, his English is perfect. Like, what's up with that? She's like, oh yeah, he works at a call center. And I was like, oh, I'm like, hey, bro, you want a job? Like, what are they paying you? And he's like, I think they're paying like, I don't know, like $100 a week, or I don't know. I'm like, I'll pay you more. You want a job? And he's like, yeah. And so I hired him, and then he got a friend, another friend, and after a while, everybody kind of knows us down in Mexico, you know. So we're getting people hit us up quite a bit. So
how many people do you have in your operation there?
It's like 20 callers now.
20, but they're only for your company, right?
Correct.
So you're not really outsourcing to anybody else?
No. And actually now we're starting to do, so like I just hired Lamasu leads.
Yep.
Because we want to get additional lead flow, and we're looking at some other, you know, we actually work with Call Geeks as well. So we actually have 4 callers with Call Geeks in addition to the 20.
Right.
It's just good, you know, it's about lead gen.
And it's different funnels.
Exactly. And actually,
funnels.
you can still hit the same list, but if you hit it with 2 different call centers, you might saturate that list, but you're going to get the most juice out of it. You know, you're still going to get leads.
Yep.
Because just a lot of it's timing.
Yeah. Wow. I'm amazed that you actually hired Scott in Lamasu Leads.
Yeah.
You having your own call center.
Yeah. To me, it's all about lead flow.
Yeah.
It's all about lead flow.
Yeah, and it works. Their leads are good.
Yeah.
There's never heard anything wrong. Shout out to Scott Morse. His podcast comes out next week, I think, or this week. I'm not sure.
Cool.
You know, he's going to be a speaker again pretty soon. But, okay, so you grew out from 1 guy to 20 guys now. And what's the lead flow per caller? Like, how do you track those numbers?
So I know a lot of guys in the industry, and I've talked to a few guys that have their own callers and some that outsource, right? So a lot of guys in the industry, they say, you know, 2 leads a day per caller. We don't get that. We get probably 1 to 1.5 per caller per day. But we've noticed that those convert much better than the ones that we outsource. Because I have a group chat, and I have it all on WhatsApp. So I'm very much, every day I'm sending them trainings on how to talk to people, on how to cold call. You know, if I see a lot of BS leads, I'm like, hey guys, you guys send us BS leads, this ain't gonna work. We do contests. So like, I'm always on top of them, but I also make it clear, like, don't send me BS leads. I want real leads. So I'm very, you know, interactive with them. And I think that's what helps to get, you know, quality leads. I mean, I'd rather have, you know, 20 solid leads than 30 so-so leads. So the lead flow isn't as good, but they're good leads. It works for us. But also we are looking, like I said, we're looking at Call Geeks. We're looking at some other options just to kind of test the waters. So you never want to stay set in just one mode, right? So it's always good to look at different avenues.
What's your so are you currently tracking how many contracts you generate with your team, or per head, or how do you do that? So yeah, we also do PPC.
Okay. So we know, you know, how many deals we're getting for PPC, and then, you know, cold calling is like for every, I'd say 30 leads we get a deal.
Okay.
Approximately.
So are those guys in the call center handling your PPC leads as well?
No, that's only our AQM. So I got AQM here in the States, which we've been friends since we were 17 years old. So he's like a brother.
Right.
And then I got my top callers for my call center. I got them doing acquisitions as well.
Okay.
So and then the PPC, my main acquisition guy takes care of it.
Yeah, because he can just take all that inbound.
Yeah, correct.
Did you never thought about funneling those PPC leads to those guys over there?
No.
And maybe having that acquisitions manager train those guys more on how to get more property?
Yeah, I think at some point we're going to do that. Once we increase our lead flow, the plan is to get like my head acquisition guy to pretty much manage, like 4 or 5 acquisition guys. But, we're not there yet. The lead flow isn't quite there yet.
Yeah, but still, I mean, lead flow from PPC?
Well, people in general, PPC and cold calling. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're still moving quite a few contracts, though.
Yeah, we are. But, we want to do like, 20, 25 contracts a month. That's kind of what our
But
goal
that's
is.
closing. You want to close on 25.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, because one thing is to lock up 25, and another thing
yeah.
is to close on 25.
Another
right?
thing, too, is our close rate is pretty high. So for every contract, for every 10 contracts we get, typically we close on 8 of them.
Yeah.
Sometimes 9. And if not, it's more of it's a title issue.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. Because I know some guys close at 50%. And some of my friends tell me, too, like, well, you're not taking enough risks. I'm like, yeah, that's probably true. But then I don't like to do unnecessary work.
On stuff that you don't know that's going to close.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I rather know, that's a deal. I'd rather not. I mean, it's going to take risks, and it definitely works, right? But I don't want to do unnecessary work.
So what do you think? Interesting, because you have a hybrid operation like I do. Our operations are very much similar.
Yeah,
I don't have cold
100%,
callers.
yeah.
I have texters.
Yeah, texters. Well, we do both. So we got texters. We have 2 now.
Yeah.
I'm hiring a third this week because, like I mentioned to you last night, on a one-to-one basis, texting is better than cold calling.
100%.
Texting, like, they'll generate more leads. Mm-hmm. The problem with it is you're hitting up a lot more data with texting. So with cold calling, they're only maybe calling 700 people a day.
Well, one of the reasons why you're hitting more data with texting is because you're not delivering the right way.
That too. Yeah, I agree with that.
That's what we talked about last night at dinner. By the way, we had Vic took me to a nice steakhouse last night, and we had a couple of glasses of wine and some good food, and we talked about all that stuff. But there are tricks to texting to where it's not about the volume, it's about the quantity and the quality of the text messages you're sending, and getting to know how those carriers work. That's something.
I mean, if you have that hack, then that's huge.
Yeah, we've invested a lot of time into it and thinking about it, and why is it that I get shut down all of a sudden and the other guy gets shut down, and so you last year you did. What was your revenue last year?
A little shy of 2.
A little shy of 2.
Yeah, we did like 1.8.
And how many people on your team to make those 1.8?
In total, I'd say probably Well, back then, though, I would say total, it was 18. 18
people.
Yeah.
So that's about $100,000 per head.
Yeah. 18
a year.
Yeah.
Which, that's a good number.
Yeah.
I measure it like that.
That's actually smart. A lot of big corporations measure revenue by employee.
Yep, revenue by employee. So, I come from a big corporation, so I have a lot of those habits. I don't know whether they're good or bad, but I look at it like, okay, if I have X amount of people on my team, how much is each one of them bringing?
Because I look at that as well. I mean, there's some callers, like, they'll have a bad spell. Like, they're really bad for, like, 3 weeks. But I'm like, well, how much money have they generated me in the last 6 months or last year? I'm like, no, I'll give them a chance.
You give them a break.
Yeah, exactly. Some people are like, oh, after 2-3 weeks, bad leads or no leads or whatever, they'll bounce people. But I look at, like, well, how many deals have they generated me? And I'm like, well, they generated me, like, quite a few deals this year. I'm like, okay, I'll just talk to them and I'll work with them.
Yeah, and they may just be going through a bad situation. Something's going on at home. You never know, because they got lives too. People. Everybody's got baggage and things.
Yeah.
So today, how many are you guys?
So now I think I have to count, but now it's going to be like closer to 24, probably.
Yeah, we're about the same size.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah.
And now we didn't do 1.8, or we didn't do what you did last year, but I think we were, for the most part, throughout the year, because this is the thing, I rebuilt my team 3 times last year.
Oh, wow.
So, because I was trying different things.
Yeah.
And because I was trying different things, I didn't want to throw a lot of money into into the funnel.
Yeah.
And I'm very patient. So, you see, I did in 2017, $4 million.
Mm.
But then it started kind of like decreasing.
Yeah.
As things started changing, marketing, and then we did mailers. That we were heavy on mailers because I come from the Sean Terry school.
Yeah.
Now I never went to a Flip to Freedom, seminar, or I listened to him every day.
Yeah, you told me that. Yeah.
Every day, and then I went and bought the 100K wholesaler because I knew how to wholesale.
Yeah.
I knew how to estimate, repairs, and I've been rehabbing for quite a few years by now.
Yeah.
But when I bought that 100K wholesaler, we implemented it right away, and it took about 3 months, and bam, we started making good money. So the problem was that we were heavily on mailers. Yeah. And a lot of the negotiations, it was me and Dennis. Mm. And we were doing all the sales as well. Yeah. So we were wearing multiple hats. We did try to grow a team where we put somebody on salary and then commit, but that didn't work. Yeah. So I've been experimenting with different models for the last few years. The least we made is $1 million. Yeah. In 2019, I made $1 million, and I was just by myself with a couple of EAs. Yeah. But now that we're moving forward, and I understand the virtual model or the virtual team member model better. Yeah. I think the foundation is being built a lot more rock solid. Yeah. That I had it before, and that's why I say that your operation and mine are very similar. Yeah, because it's about the same size. Yeah. You do cold calling, I do texting. I may venture into cold calling at some point for landlines, because we have a lot of landlines that we don't touch. Yeah, exactly. And guess who answers the phone on a landline?
Yeah, our target.
It's an 80-year-old lady that may want to sell right away, right? Anyhow, now, how was your transition from being a 20-year, corporate guy, even though it was your family business, still a corporation? Correct, yeah. You knew exactly how much money you were going to make on the 1st and the 15th and all that, into saying, I'm a full-time entrepreneur now. And also, how do your wife take that? Because I'm interested in knowing how that happens.
Well, I would, with me, I've always kind of been entrepreneurial. Since I was young, I was always trying to do something, doing flips, doing that. We actually started an Amazon business, a private label, selling supplements, and it was doing really well for a while. And then we got shut down by Amazon. Right. So we're always dabbling in other stuff. I used to work for a guy named Don Lepre. I don't know if you heard of him, but
Who?
Don Lepre.
You worked for Don Lepre? Yeah. That was the guy that was selling infomercials?
Correct. Yeah. He actually, I think he helped Dean Graziosi get started in infomercials.
Bro, I bought a product of that guy.
I used to work for him.
Years ago. Correct, yeah. He was selling some newspaper ads.
Yes, that's Don Lepre, yeah. I used to work for him.
Wow.
He's a really good dude. Unfortunately, he's
no longer around.
He was a really good dude. He was a great person.
Wow, man, I would have loved to meet that guy.
He was super cool. He was really motivational, really cool. And he would tell us, hey guys, when you're working for someone else, you're helping someone else achieve their dream, And there's even one time in the office, he's like, you guys are all dumb. And we're like, what? He was like, you guys are done working for me. Why don't you guys do your own thing? So he was very influential. A lot of his comments just kind of stuck with me. He was a smart guy.
He always encouraged people to go
to do their own thing. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of guys that used to work for him now, they're super successful. They've gone on to do other stuff. And like I said, I believe, I don't want to misspeak, but I believe he helped Dean get started in infomercials.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So that was a big factor. So that always stuck with me. But also, too, I just saw the quality of life my cousin had. The guy was super wealthy. I don't know how much money he's worth, but, they did really well. He was even recognized by the president of Mexico. Wow. So he was very, very successful. So I knew that that's kind of eventually where I wanted to be at. And after a while, you just realize, well, listen, it's a great job, great opportunity. I mean, I was set, had my own office, but I knew if I wanted a certain quality of life, I had to work for myself. And also too, like the owners were my cousins. Like 4 of the owners are my cousins. So like when you're all 4 cousins are millionaires, and you're not, it's like it really motivates you.
Right.
So and because I could directly see their lifestyle.
Right.
Like I could see, the 30,
how they live,
$30,000 watches
Yeah.
and this and that. But more than anything else, just the impact they can have on people's lives. So like when you have a lot of money, you can really help others.
Yes.
I remember when I was a kid, he bought my dad a truck. He sent my mom and my dad on a cruise to the Caribbean.
Wow.
So stuff like that really like kind of stick with you, And so if you want to really impact the world, fortunately or unfortunately, you need to have money. I mean, you really do.
Yeah.
So that's. I mean, you could do it in other ways, but that's a big factor. So I wanted to do more and have more impact.
Right. So when you said I quit or I'm gonna quit, how were those conversations with your wife? Because wives seek, most wives, I don't know that's Mabel's case, but my wife, she wants stability and security.
Yeah.
Art's wife wants the same thing, So, hey, I'm gonna quit the job that's been supplying our lifestyle and a good lifestyle for years.
Yeah.
It's because I'm gonna go pursue my dream now.
Yeah.
How is that?
No, actually, she was very supportive. Let's
go.
She was like, let's go. Like she knew it was time. She kind of, and not in a negative way, because it's a great company. I love my family, but she was like, hey, you could do more. You're capable of doing more.
Yeah, she believed in you.
You're being there is holding you back. Is what she would tell me. And I think it was to a degree. I enjoyed being there, but it was just.
And well, it is. And now look at how much you've grown, right?
Yeah, of course. But also too, like I've been able to do what I've done because being involved in that business for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a lot of stuff that I learned. Like one thing I learned, it's about relationships. Like you really have to build relationships with people. That's key. But also one thing that really stuck out, Carlos Reyes, he would make fun of me. He was like, dude, you go to everybody's events. And it's because one time we were having dinner with my cousin. His name was Heredia. We're having dinner, and I asked him, like, it was just me and him. I'm like, how did you do it? Like, how did you get to that level? I'm like, where you're at. And so I was expecting some kind of deep strategy, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, you know what? Number one, I was humble. I was like, what? He was like, I was just humble. He was like, I learned from everyone in the industry. I spoke to everyone in the industry. I learned from them, even the guys that weren't doing this as well as me. If they had a good idea, I implemented what they told me. He goes, but I was humble enough to know that I didn't know everything and I was going to learn from everyone. And so that's what I've done. I mean, literally, I've studied. You name them, I studied them in some way or shape or form. So I think that's what really helped as well.
Wow.
I think that's a big impact.
Well, I practice that.
Yeah.
I go to everybody's event. Everybody's.
Yeah.
If I can get in there, I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna learn. And I'm gonna be a sponge.
Yeah, you have to be. Yeah, because there's always gonna be something that someone mentions that, like, oh shoot, that's interesting, and then they implement it. But also too, like in our business, so there was a time we were in Arizona, we were supplying Bashes, supermarkets, the supermarket here in town. We were supplying them about 75 loads of product a month. It's a lot. It's a lot of product, and they filed bankruptcy. And so, like, when there were 4 vendors, it was like I forgot who it was, and then it was Coca-Cola, and then like we were like 3rd or 4th. So we were like a big vendor. And so because they filed bankruptcy, we lost that business. Right. So because we were dependent on it, right? And so we were like, well, what do we have to do? We have to shift. So my cousin was like, let's just shift. Let's start doing organics. That's the trend. So let's shift to organics. So that's one thing, following the trend. Like, what's trending? Like, what's trending right now? And so you got to use that and adapt that into your business. But also, you got to go where the money's at. So what do we do? Like, well, we targeted Walmart and Whole Foods because they're the big boys. So, like, I literally hit up, I think, Walmart and Whole Foods for 3 years straight until they gave us the door.
The chance. Exactly.
So we went where the money was at. So that's what we do in our business. Like, who has money? Hedge funds.
Yeah.
So that's who we target. We specifically target data for hedge funds. And that's kind of how we do.
Got it. Let's talk about that. So what does data for hedge funds look like?
Well, basically, they like, homes that are, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1950 plus.
Brick.
They prefer brick, yeah. But depends on the hedge fund. Some are very aggressive. The ones that don't really want to bother with too much of a remodel, they'll say, hey, 1965 or 1980 plus. It just really depends on the fund that you're dealing with. But that's kind of our focus. But also too, like eventually, now they're not as aggressive as they were a year ago.
Yeah.
So it seems. So sometimes we'll just put it on MLS, or we'll try to sell it to Open Door. It's interesting. A friend of mine, Kyle, down in Tucson, a company's called KMS. They have about 1,000 properties. So we started submitting deals to the hedge fund, but he was denying 8 out of 10. He's like, nah. I'm like, that's a good offer, Kyle. He's like, nah. I'll list it on MLS and get more money. And he already had 1,000 properties, so like they know what they're doing. So then I'm like, okay, well, if this big guy's doing it, he has 1,000 properties and he's denying 80% of their offers because he thinks he'll get more on MLS. That says something, right? So I kind of kept that in mind. So we're starting to do that as well.
Okay, so you're following a trend that he's setting.
Well, he has 1,000 properties. He knows he does about 30 flips a month. So he knows what he's doing, right? So he's smart. He knows what he's doing, and it's true. He's like, Victor. Let's just put it on MLS. Maybe the fund might buy it on MLS or Open Door or another fund. There's funds buy on MLS as well, because funds have an off-market division and they have an on-market division. He would just put it on MLS. So that's what he would do.
Now, what do you think, in your opinion, why are the funds buying so many properties?
I think because money's cheap. I think they're getting. I heard they're getting money like at 1.5%, something like that. And so if they buy a house with 4% cap rate, what is that, a 300% return? I mean, that's really good. So I think that's why. Also, too, I think the stock market is over leveraged. So I think they want to hedge their risk. So what's safer than real estate? I mean, what's safer than for the market, real estate? It's the best thing to be in. So I think that's why.
But are they becoming landlords, or what are?
So
what's the future look like for the funds? Because if they're amassing all these properties.
So I heard that they want to own everything under $300,000, and they just want to create they want to control the rental market. So there's some funds that own 30,000, 20,000 properties. There's some really big funds out there. There's some that we don't do business with because all they do is buy on market properties, like Invitation Homes. That's all they do. But they own a lot of properties. I haven't looked, but it's substantial. So that's what they want to do. They want to control that market because they know rents are gonna rents never decline. Typically.
No, they always go up.
They're always going to go up. So for them, it's a sure investment.
Yeah. Okay.
Now I'm curious what's going to happen if interest rates continue to climb. What's going to happen if at some point interest rates are too high, then their money is going to be too expensive, and then they'll decide to not invest in real estate. I mean, it's hard to know. They have an algorithm they work with, so it's hard to say. It depends. At what point? It depends on interest rates.
So, what do you think do you think there will be and I haven't actually talked to anybody about this. You're the first person I asked this question. What do you think is going to happen with the market in the next 3 years?
Well, I think, as Sean was mentioning yesterday, there's always a correction. Nothing goes up forever, and nothing stays low forever. So I think there'll be a correction. To what degree, we don't know. I know the stock market is really
correcting.
Yeah, correcting now, and supposedly there's a crash coming. So if it's a severe crash, it's going to affect real estate, I think. But a lot of these, like Zach Keeps is a huge, investor. He has like 200 plus properties. He's like, he's fine because he's just renting everything out. Yeah. So he's sad. So, it's not going to affect some people, but it might affect others. But we don't know to what degree it'll correct. I don't think it'll be as bad as 2008 because everyone has equity. So, and that's what's good for us as wholesalers. Almost everyone you call has equity. Yeah,
my target list is 70% equity or more. I don't target anything less than that.
Correct.
Unless I don't have enough properties in an area, then I go down to 50% equity. But that's about it.
Same here. We actually do 60%.
60, okay. Yeah, but I target a lot of tertiary markets. So 90% of my targets is a city 45 minutes away from a large metro area.
Gotcha.
Like here in Arizona, I would say Phoenix, Tucson, or maybe something. And Tucson to me is probably too big.
Yeah.
I go to like whatever is around Tucson, because I'm looking for what most people are not looking for.
Yeah.
Which is properties in those other markets.
Correct.
Because most guys are following that trend. The hedge fund, and hedge funds don't necessarily like those properties out there.
Yeah.
They like the properties in the main cities,
exactly.
Houston, Jacksonville.
Well, like hedge funds, like, I think 42% of buyers or investors are buying in Atlanta. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's a competitive market. And there's a lot of wholesalers there, right?
Yeah.
There's a ton. But I like more, and I guess that you can say that's an A market. I like B markets because they're not as competitive. So and there's funds buying there.
What do you consider a B
Just
market?
like a smaller market. For example, like Arizona is A market. I think Tucson would be considered like a B market.
Right.
So you're just smaller cities.
Yeah, I'm the C market.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Okay.
I'm going to layer out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it works.
It works, yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
And now my client is different. My client is not a hedge fund. My client is the regular guy flipping, landlording.
Yeah.
Which I think, I don't know, but I believe hedge funds at some point will pull the plug.
I think so. Well, actually, it happens. So every so often, like, hey, we're no longer buying in Indianapolis, or we're no longer buying here. And so you got to delete. I delete my data from my database. And then no more calling there. I mean, if we still have hot leads, we'll still hit those because they're fine. We just have to buy them a little bit cheaper. So that's what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. We buy them all cheaper. Like we don't, because we're not selling to hedge funds.
Yeah.
We got to get them right.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
you have to buy them at a deep discount.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense for the regular investor to go pick up something at 90% of ARV. Exactly. It just doesn't work. But that's why I focus on C markets,
But and the good thing is with if you're in a C market, I mean, if you don't have buyers in that market with investor lift, I mean, you can get them.
Oh yeah, no, and don't get me wrong, the buyers from the A and the B markets will go to the C market for the equity.
That's good. Yeah.
Yep, I was that guy. So check it out. In 2000, I think it was 2014. I used to buy off the MLS.
Yeah.
In Houston,
Wow.
and I have formulas to buy properties off the MLS, and negotiation tactics and all that. Right? I hated wholesalers. I was a wholesaler hater. Yeah, because they never brought me anything that was worth my time.
Yeah.
So I scour the freaking MLS and I will find these properties. But I found out that in the city of Houston, the MLS got dried up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, where do I go for properties? Well, I'm going to have to start going a little bit further away. So I started going to all these other suburbs that were maybe 45 minutes away from Houston. Yeah. I could still buy properties there.
Yeah.
But then what happened was those suburbs got dried up too, because there were more guys like me trying to find these properties, right?
Gotcha.
So my business partner at the time, Dennis, tells me, and this is in 14 going into 15, he says, dude, I read on Bigger Pockets that if we send yellow letters, we talk to motivated sellers.
Yeah.
And I looked at him like he had two heads. I said, what? Yellow letters? What's a yellow letter?
Yeah.
So he gets on Google, pulls up a yellow letter, and I see one, and he's like, yeah, man, there's something psychologically about the letters and the handwriting fonts and this and that. And I was like, all right, let's just pick a market and send, I don't know, $400 worth of letters and see what happens, right? Now, we have no coaching whatsoever. We don't know what the hell we're doing. But I went and picked one of those C markets, or B. I would say this was like a B market.
Yeah.
It's a city south of Houston called Angleton, which is, to me, still Houston.
Yeah.
But
I've never heard of it, so I know what
yeah, so Angleton is down there, right? And I went ahead and I sent 400 letters. And I got 2 houses out of it.
Wow, that's good.
And that was like $50,000 on assignments.
That's
but
really
because we were the buyers,
Yeah.
we didn't need to assign them.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, this is pretty good. This works.
Yeah.
And then we went and started sending 2,000 mailers. And bam, we get more. But we started focusing on all these areas,
Smaller markets.
smaller markets.
Yeah.
And that's how we went and bought all the properties we bought in between 2015 and 17. We must have bought a lot. There was a lot of properties that we bought. And that was our success.
Yeah.
Was going to where nobody else was looking, right? Mm-hmm. Eventually, they started catching up.
Yeah.
So, I would see more dumpsters in the area. I was like, oh, there's another flip there, And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. These guys are actually migrating because by necessity, people have to do it.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck it. I'm going further away.
Yeah.
So I started going further away. So now I'm going to Bay City, which, by the way, we locked up one deal yesterday in Bay City. But we went to Bay City. Bay City is like, you tell somebody, go to Bay City, they're like, man, you crazy, dude? That's like 2 hours from Houston. Wow. That's too far away.
Yeah.
But guess what? I went and got properties there. ARVs were solid. Rental market was like the best.
Wow.
And now I'm buying, because we were renting a lot of properties.
Yeah.
Buying all these properties. And then Harvey happened, so I had to reinvent myself. And then one day, I saw Nick Perry, and I was like, dude, how is it that you do this virtual thing? How is it that you're wholesaling all over the U.S.? I don't understand, because I'm a belly-to-belly guy. I got to go and lock up the deal.
Yeah,
and
do it in person.
Do it in person. They said, Ricardo, you just got to change your mindset, and instead of having the belly-to-belly conversation, you have to get real good on the phone and get your guys real good on the phone. And I said, all right. So I went and tried it. And we started getting deals. Yeah. And that's when we made the whole shift. But now we do that B and C nationwide.
Yeah.
I don't go for the A.
Gotcha. Well, we also do PPC, and the funny thing is, the reason we got into PPC nationwide also is because of Nick Perry. Like, you see his success. I mean, he does a ton of deals, right? I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. So we started doing PPC nationwide as well. And it works. I mean, we all know, right? It works really well. We're all investor-live cartels. Yep. We already know, how it is. So now what's next for you and your team? How do you plan on continue to grow your company, or are you gonna stay steady? What's your plans? So a couple things. I talked to a friend of mine. He told me there's a guy that's selling 400 deals a year to the funds, and he works with agents. So we're going to be reaching out to agents in certain markets, to try to buy deals from agents,
right?
Because they run across good inventory.
Yes.
Also, we're going to have to go after some more portfolio sellers, because we got funds that want portfolios. So that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on. We're also starting. I'm in a group called Collective Greatness, as I mentioned too. We're starting a skip tracing company. It's called dataskip.io. So we're working on that as well.
Okay.
And also too, now we're getting into. I got a partner of mine that we're getting into transactional funding. So we can do transactional funding and a lot of JVs. So if someone has a deal, we'll fund 100%. And then we'll fund the flip and the purchase, or the purchase and the rehab, and then we'll just split it 50-50. So it's not for everyone, but it's for guys that don't have money and they got a good deal.
Absolutely.
It's a good option.
Yeah, and I want to split the profits.
Correct. Yeah, and some guys, they're like, oh, that's too much money, but which is fine. Like, we're looking for the guys that need money and that need our experience.
There is a segment for that.
Yeah, and they need our experience, and so it's like, you got a deal, and you make more money than an assignment. Actually, that's kind of what I started doing. So what I would do, if I got an assignment, if the offer on the assignment was like under 10,000, I'm like, this is enough. All that work for like 6,000, 7,000, that doesn't work. Yeah. So I would go to my buyer. I'm like, why don't we do this? Why don't we JV it? I'll assign it to you at cost. You fix, you flip it, and then we'll split it 50-50. And it worked. We ended up making a lot more money than $6,000, $7,000. Sometimes you make 20, 30, 40,000. So it actually worked out because the market's climbing. So you wait a little bit more, but you make more money. So that's another. So if you have relationships with a good buyer, strong buyer, make them that pitch. Like, hey, I'll just assign it a cost and flip it. But you have someone. It has to be someone that you really trust.
Right. Yeah. They can run weird numbers. Correct. And
So you gotta trust the person, and also too, you can figure it out. Like, oh, okay, that you can run the numbers. Like, we already know what stuff costs, and you just test it. But for me, if the assignment's low, it's worth it. If I'm going to get a 20, 30K assignment, then no, I'm going to just go for the 20, 30K.
Right. But
if I'm getting a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 assignment, I just rather JV it.
Because now you can turn that 5K into 20K.
Correct. You're better off doing that than assigning it for $5,000, $7,000. Exactly. So
That's good.
Yeah. So now that's why we're offering that to other people. So if they have a deal, if they want to JV with us, we'll go 50-50 on it, and we'll fund 100%.
Good. Well, Vic, thank you so much, man, for being a part of the podcast today and for being a speaker in our last mastermind. I actually want to go watch and review your speech because unfortunately I was not around the whole time when you were speaking. Victor spoke about virtual wholesaling nationwide. So put a presentation together. I'm looking forward to see that presentation and looking forward to have you on the next event as well. Hopefully you can make it.
Yeah, for sure.
Guys, don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast event and mastermind is happening May 27, 28 in Austin, Texas. So I will see you there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, bro.
Appreciate you, man.
Likewise.